Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to, or I don't know why I always say that, but anyways, welcome to episode 7 of the Fatman Gaming Podcast. I am your host as usual, the Fatman from the Fatman Gaming. Over here below me today is my co-host Zio. Zio, say what's up to the people.
What's up?
All right, guys. So let's see. We're gonna start this one. So we had this one actually planned out. This podcast is actually organized. Last week it wasn't. I wasn't feeling too good. Had a massive migraine. Now I'm dealing with some acid reflux stuff. So but we can power through that. But anyways, first I want to shout out a co-creator. Want to shout out Mike. It's Mike Tendo Power. He's on his journey to 300 subs. So if you guys who are listening to this can go over and give Mike some love, that'd be awesome. Mike's a really cool dude. He does retro game unboxings. He also does gameplay when he does those unboxings, like little gameplay clips. I enjoy his stuff thoroughly. Go in there and check him out. He's got all kinds of cool stuff going on over there. And then, yeah, that's it. So let's see. Today's episode, we're going to be going over our top five game developers. Now, we didn't really go over this too much because we wanted it to be a surprise to each other also. So if some of our developers are the same, just kind of deal with it for us. I don't know what he picked. He doesn't know what I picked, and that's part of it. Um,
We're
so
also gonna, real quick, I just want to add with the top five game developers, we're also gonna name just one game specifically of of theirs that we are a huge fan of.
there you go. Okay, so that's the plan. Also, at the end of that, we're going to be, you know how we do things here. We kind of ramble before we get started with the main topic. But after we get done with the main topic, we're going to go over our personal game. Like, what is a game that we would want to develop if we had the power to do so? Um, so I have one specifically in mind that I've had since I was very young, and now with technology the way it is, maybe one day it could actually get done. Yeah, I have no idea what Zeos is. We haven't gone over it yet. We kind of just threw it out, and then yeah, that was on the dock. So, real quick, just want to go over a couple of things too. Turns out, uh, PS5 Pro is actually a real thing. I know we talked about it last episode, and kind of glanced over it, but turns out it's in developers' hands now. So there is developers that are actually working with the PS5 Pro, and I couldn't be more excited. Yet kind of iffy on the whole thing. Um, so and then let's see, Project Q, the leak came. We've talked about that too. It turns out that was actually legit. That's an actual Q Project Q or Q Lite, whatever they're calling it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was what was it? There was PS5 Pro, there was the Q, and then what was that other thing I was going to talk about? It was actually pretty big. Um, anyways, it doesn't matter. But I'll think of it. If I think of it, I'll throw it in there. But yeah, so uh, did you hear any more about the PS5 Pro leaks? And are you excited about it, Z?
No, on my news area of my Google phone has been kind of dry on the video game stuff lately. It's been giving me a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with I didn't realize. I thought I deleted Twitter by accident with it going underneath its new name. I didn't realize that that's what that was. So I didn't bother to look at that to see if there was any updates.
Pause
I
break real quick. Pause break real quick. So now that Twitter, now that we brought that up, now that Twitter is now X, what is it called? Is it still sending a tweet or is it called Xing or what? What's your take on it? Because me, I like to give it the old nickname of now I'm sexting.
Oh God, that's a term I haven't heard you say, and I wish I hadn't. Yeah.
uh,
Uh, I don't really know. I haven't really tested it out per se.
I still say sending a
Um,
tweet, to be honest.
Honestly, yeah, it's just force of habit at this point. Most people are still just saying they're sending tweets at
Yeah.
this rate.
I honestly, I don't see the X moniker sticking. I see Elon switching it back to something simple like Twitter because, yeah, the whole X thing is stupid in my opinion. But hey, whatever floats his boat. But anyways, back to PS5 Pro. Like your general thoughts on it.
Well, like I said last time about that, it's honestly for me, I say that the current PS5 still has a good ways to go in its life cycle, and for me personally, a pro version of it is just for me too soon, even though it's supposed to be releasing next year.
Mm,
And to me, that's still too soon. The PlayStation 5 itself, most people got it within the past year or sorts because of the outages they had. So they haven't really had a full time experiencing the
right.
current gen, and releasing a next gen just because now you have the materials, to me just seems like you're just trying to throw money at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like most people, so they did announce, like we said last week, that 40 million people now have PS5s. So there's 40 million consoles out in the wild. Um, but I'm just saying, like, do I feel like it's too soon for a Pro? Yeah, but in the court documents for the whole Microsoft versus PlayStation thing for the Activision deal, they were saying that PS6, which sounds insane to say, but PS6 they're targeting a release date about 2028. So what PlayStation 5 came out in 2020, so that's what an 8-year cycle. And then they're saying now that PS5 Pro is slated to come out holiday of 2024. So I guess that, like, I had heard it on another podcast too. Shout out to Sacred Symbols, love those guys. They were talking about it too. So yeah, so 2024 would put technically PS5 at, which is insane to think about, would already put it at half of its life cycle if the release date for the next one is 2028. So I guess it's kind of working out in the long run, but yeah. So the I'm kind of excited for it just because you know how I am. I love more power. I love the new shiny things, and I'm a tech whore, like I've mentioned before. So
I'm more on the save money kind of side, try to wait for when stuff for the newer consoles is more
right,
reliable and more commercially available.
right.
Um,
I can see
for
that.
me, yeah, for me, releasing a console like this, PlayStation's doing like 4 years since the original PS5 came out. To me, it kind of seems like how would I say this? Like here in America, where we have the elections every 4 years. I just hope that they're not going to go into the same cycle with console releases and releasing a new one, and then 4 years later
Well, they
releasing
kind
a
of
pro version.
yeah, and I think that's where PlayStation seems to be going. They've definitely taken the cell phone route, as in, oh man, I got the new whatever phone, and then next thing they got the next whatever phone, 5G Ultra Plus Mega Man X version. So yeah, it seems like PlayStation's definitely adapted the next up cycle, and Microsoft themselves had said, hey, we're not doing that. The Xbox Series X is our mid-gen refresh. So that's that. And then jumping onto the Q Lite, like I don't know where I'm at with it. Like I'm excited for it. I'm not excited for it. Like it better hit that 199 mark because I won't pay any more than that for it. Um, so yeah, I don't know. The intrigue of playing my PlayStation 5 in the room when I'm watching TV with the significant other, or if she wants us to watch TV on, even though I have my own station, but if she wants to watch TV out here, then we can still technically be together and still watch. I can still do my game. She can watch her cop shows that she likes. So there's that. So I mean,
Yeah, that's what got me excited for that too. Is the fact that Sony's finally doing another handheld console,
I
something that fans have been wanting them to continue with.
the only caveat to that is it's not a true handheld. It's a streaming. You can turn your PS5 on and then you can beam it from here to here. Now, if Sony is listening, by some chance, please be listening, Sony. Uh, make just before it comes out. There's I know that there's a way they can do it. Tech is amazing. Just make that thing a full on handheld. Give us PSP games you can play on it. PS1 go PS3 being harder to emulate because of the cell processor, but PS1, 2, even if that thing was a portable PS4, do you know how insane that would be?
Yeah, like it would be absolutely insane. For me, how I would like to see it perform is sort of like a mix of the current Nintendo console and one from its and a previous Nintendo console. I want to see it kind of perform like the Wii U, but mixed with a Nintendo Switch.
Make one of these, Sony, right here. Oh, come on, camera, pick it up. Make one of these. Put a PS logo right here, right there, and just make one of these. Portable PS4 right here. The Steam Deck has actually been said to be as strong as a PS4. So if they can put this with the PlayStation branding on it, I think we'd be good to go. Um, and then the PS4 category would live on and all that stuff. But yeah, so we're done with the Q Lite stuff and the PS5 Pro stuff. So let's move into the main topic. So we had talked about it earlier this week, and we were like, oh, we were trying to figure out a topic for the show, and then we kind of threw out there together, let's do our top 5 developers, and I thought that'd be perfect because developers don't get enough love. I mean, they do when you buy their games, but they don't really get the shout outs. So we're gonna do that. Shout out our favorite developers. Again, we didn't do any of this collab together, so neither one of us knows what the other is throwing out. If they do run the same, I apologize in advance, but just know that it's because we have good taste and we love that developer. Um, so,
Let's start with going from bottom up or top to bottom.
hold on. There's something going on here. Oh, okay. I don't know what I hit, but I broke something. Okay, so we'll start at 5 and we'll work our way down to the number 1. I'll let you go first, like always. So go ahead and fire off. This is the number 5 pick of his top 5 developers. So, all right, fire away.
So this developer went underneath another name prior to its acquisition by Activision in 2005. It used to go under the name Vicarious Visions. It's now labeled as Blizzard Albany.
Mm.
Um, and they are one of the developers that made one of my favorite DS games. Uh, you know, I'm not much of a sports fanatic. Like I said before, the only other sports game I played was Super Mario Strikers for the GameCube. I left this one off because it had completely slipped my mind, but one of my favorite games from them was Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam for the DS.
Oh, nice. All right, well, go ahead and tell the people about that real quick. I'm gonna go grab something real quick.
Yeah, so Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, for anyone who is unfamiliar with the Tony Hawk games, I'm not the biggest fan of Tony Hawk. I'm not the biggest fan of skateboarding. Um, I mean, like, obviously, sorry, I got something in my eye. Um, but the video games were actually really cool, especially on the DS, the way the DS operated. Um, and the reason why I have this as one of my actual old-time favorite games is simply due to the maps they had. You had San Francisco, you had Hong Kong, you had Rio de Janeiro, one of my favorites, Mount Kilimanjaro, and even with Mount Kilimanjaro, you had two versions of that where you had the village portion of the map or you had the mountain part. And, it was fun to hit all the tricks, try to beat the times. And I believe if I'm correct in saying this, I'm not too sure. Um, I believe that with the Nintendo being able to support land between another DS, I believe you are also able to play with your friends on this game.
Yeah, I remember that game.
It was a nice game. Mount Kilimanjaro was one of my favorite maps on there.
Yeah, the Tony Hawk games are all, well, for me, Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and then, yeah, Dan Hill Jam was pretty good because it was like, man, I couldn't believe they got that on the DS. But, yeah, uh, great series of games. And then they did the remakes for 1 and 2. I was just like, whoa, they were really good. Um, All right, number five for me, and it was kind of hard for me to put it at number five, but I did. Number five for me is Capcom. Um, Capcom has always played such a major role in gaming for me because Capcom has always had one of the. They've always had the biggest bangers. You look at Resident Evil, you look at um, Monster Hunter. Let's see, they've got like all kinds of various Devil May Cry, and then had a few RPGs that the names are. What was it? Oh, Breath of Fire, stuff like that. But like my favorite game Capcom has ever made, and they refuse to go back to it or show this guy any love. It's the Mega Man X series, and the Mega Man X series is the reason why I love Capcom, because you can make your pleas or your cries for like uh, Resident Evil being the best franchise when really the numbers show that it's Monster Hunter. And I've just recently got into Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter Rise. I started it on my Switch, now I have it on PC, and I play it on my Steam Deck a lot. Um, but Mega Man was the game that showed me the true power and potential of Capcom. You know, there's something about Mega Man in general. Like Mega Man, the OG Mega Man was cool, but then X took it to like 11 because he looked different. He wasn't the short little stubby guy. He was taller. His blaster had more power. His partner was Zero, who had the saber, and yeah, there was just something about that. And then when it jumped up to PlayStation with Mega Man X4, well, PlayStation, Saturn, and a bunch of other stuff, when it jumped up with X4 and they had the anime voice acting, which was cheesy as hell. It was a cheesy voice acted game, but the animated cinematics and then the story for that game was just like, whoa. And then you could talk about all the other Mega Mans after that, but Mega Man X is and Capcom is the reason why. One of the other reasons why I'm a gamer today is just I'll tell you a funny story. It was back in the day they had this place in Sac called Tower Records, and they might have been around everywhere else, but I just remember them being primarily a Sac thing. Um, and they had Mega Man X, and this is when Super Nintendo was starting to go kind of out the door a little bit, like we were moving on to the next thing. And I had a copy, and I think it was like back then it was like $15, and I was like, sweet, my dad was gonna buy it for me. Well, my dad not being the most nicest of people, he he lied. He took it all the way up to the register and said he didn't have any money, which he did, but he just didn't want to buy it. And yeah, just to be mean, he was like, "Yeah, we don't have enough," so we left. I cried my eyes out that night because uh, I didn't end up getting it, and I did end up getting it a few years later. Uh, Traded a Pokemon game to a friend, and I got that in exchange. Probably a stupid deal because it was a first edition Blastoise. So yeah, I kind of regret that, but whatever. But yeah, Capcom is my number five, and they'll always have a special place in my heart. Bring back Mega Man X, you freaks.
That was a good choice. For my next one, just a just a cult classic at this point. For gamers, for a bunch of gamers, especially those of the younger variety, Mojang, one of my favorite developers
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
now part of Microsoft.
Yeah. You know, to not, I don't really need to go into full detail with this, but for people that somehow don't know who Mojang are, they're the creators of Minecraft. If I still need to explain, let me know in the comments, because honestly, I've already talked about this in our top 10 gaming list into full detail. I don't really like repeating myself too much.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing about podcasting is we're gonna go over things a lot. It's just how video games work. There's yeah, it'll happen a lot. So yeah, no, good pick for number four. Let's see. Hang on, let me a second. Let me take an audio break real quick because I got a noisy background going. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What are we on? Four already. Number four. Go with your brother. Number four for me. This one is obvious. Like, um, they can be counted. I know they have a bunch of sub developers. Sorry, kids are fighting. Uh, anyway, and that's why. Hey, that's why you come to the Fat Man Gaming. Really, you like the background noise because it shows that we are authentic. We're not these, like I've said in our shorts video. We're not these big global conglomerate guys that are like partnered with whoever to do. We do these things because we truly love doing this stuff, and we're doing this for you guys. So if you do hear the background noise, we apologize, but it's just part of what we do here. But anyways, number four for me is Nintendo. I mean, really, you can't go wrong with Nintendo. Nintendo being their own develop, they do most of their stuff in house. You got bangers, Super Mario Bros. You got Pikmin, which I just recently got into, and is actually a really good game. I'm in the Pikmin hemisphere right now. Like it is really freaking good. It's very zen, as they would say. Um, I kind of feel bad because you're taking these little guys that you're plucking out of the ground and you're sending them to battle and they die and it's yeah it's awful, but you're at the same time super entertaining and gratifying. Um, so, anyways, when I'm not being a maniac and sending off my troops off to their death, Nintendo does got bangers. But my personal favorite for Nintendo is clearly The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda just being, in my opinion, Nintendo's number one franchise. There's just so many games in the series. Yeah, go get me one and I'll get it for you. And then so many hits in the franchise. I haven't played the new one because I'm waiting for Switch 2. I won't play Tears of the Kingdom until then. Um, but Breath of the Wild was actually absolutely insane. But my favorite one is Wind Waker. I mean, who's it? Well, no. Second favorite, but my favorite one of all time is the Link to the Past. The Link to the Past is hands down. I don't care what anybody says. The greatest Zelda game of all time. Came out for the Super Nintendo. It hit all the right stuff. Top down Link. The story was incredible. Two halves to the game. First half in the light world, and the second half is in the dark world, and it's literally the game took forever because it was like going into a whole nother world. Well, it was a whole nother world, and it's just like you had your dungeons on this side, then you had seven more on this side, and the story of Ganon and then the wizard, and it's yeah. So for me, it's Nintendo because Nintendo, no matter what, whether they stay in the console business or they end up third party eventually, Nintendo's always going to be a major player in the game, and they always bring it with their franchises. Even if their consoles are underpowered, there's just no denying you know a Nintendo game when you see one. So that's my number four.
All right, and oddly enough, while moving on to the next pick I have, it is also Nintendo
Ah, I
for
knew this
number
was gonna
three.
happen. I knew this was gonna happen.
Growing up, I started with a GameCube and the PlayStation 2. The very first console I had was the Nintendo GameCube, and the first few games I played on there were
go
Mario
ahead,
related.
go ahead and keep talking as much as you want because I'm gonna go grab something. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so
Come on.
uh, pretty much like my cousin here said about
Where's your cup
when
at?
he chose Nintendo. For me, though, it's more of the long lines of I love Nintendo simply because of Mario. I grew up playing Mario games. I fell in love with Super Mario, and
You want a
even
soda?
now, even though I didn't grow up when the game
You want milk?
when the first Mario games released, still being brought in to play those Mario games. The story is captivating. The fact that it's a 2D scroller, it's really nostalgic. Um,
Okay, come on. You can go down.
excuse the background noise, but that's on his end. Um, so it's really just honestly, Nintendo knows how to make their games. You know, they really are a gaming giant. Majority of the games that they release, usually hit it out of the park. They got their big money maker, that being Pokemon. But you know, Nintendo's like their second biggest moneymaker, I would have to say, is Mario. You know, they started out with Mario. Pokemon took it over in terms of being their moneymaker, but Mario's still one of their biggest moneymakers.
Mm-hmm. And they got oh, what's that? Mario Wonder coming out, and then they got that Princess Peach game that's coming out next year. They said, and they got there's actually a Pokemon Presents this coming week. I forgot what day, but there's a so who knows what we'll see from Pokemon. There could be new Pokemon game announcements. There could just be updates on the current games, which for me are meh. So, but yeah. So it's no surprise Nintendo's on both this list. If Nintendo's not on every gamer's list, then you're sorry, you're not getting it. Um. So yeah, but yeah. So I kind of figured we were gonna both end up with Nintendo on our list. But yeah. So my number three is a no longer intact developer per se. There's a small bit of them around, but they're no longer the version of the one that I'm gonna talk about. So number three for me is the old THQ. Uh, THQ was number three for a reason for me because they had some of the greatest games that for me that ever came to be that influenced me. They had all the original WWE games. They had the Nintendo 64 WWE games when they were WWF back then, which I played last night, No Mercy, and oh my god, that game is still so good. Um, but they had a lot of their games were licensed, so they had a lot of the SpongeBob kart racers. They had a lot they had a lot of just what were you gonna say, Z? Hmm. Hey, your mic's cutting out. Something's going on your audio. I don't know what it is. It sounds like shadowy or echoey. Hang on, guys. Technical difficulties.
Microphone was coming.
Go ahead. Say again.
I little had a little bit of technical
Oh,
difficulty on
there it
my end.
goes. You're good.
Yeah,
But yeah, THQ for me. I mean, like I said, they had all the licensed games. They had all the WWE games. Those guys were pumping out games. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how they did it. If you go on Wikipedia and you look at the games they were outputting, these guys were putting out banger after banger after banger after banger. And a lot of people call THQ's games back in the day shovelware, but whatever. But the game that they put out that solidified them on my list is one of my favorite. It was in my top 10. I think it was. I have to go back and watch that episode and see. But if it wasn't, then I made a mistake. But for me, the game that put them on the market for me, and why they're my number three was Homefront. When they came out with Homefront, which to me was a legitimate competitor to Call of Duty when that game came out. When that game came out, Homefront, I did not care about Call of Duty that year. I didn't care about Battlefield, and I played the shit out of Homefront. That game was so good. The multiplayer, the point system in multiplayer, it made you feel like you were doing good, and it also had the opposite effect of it made you feel like you were a really bad player if you didn't have the points. Um, but playing that game and dropping dimes on people and being able to go all the way up to call in a helicopter, and man, when you were in the helicopter, you were like top tier. That's when people knew you were the shit because that helicopter was untouchable. Um, but hang on, I gotta open the door.
well, folks, I had a little bit of technical difficulty earlier. That's why if you saw me talking and not moving, my microphone accidentally came unplugged, and I thought it was my cousin having audio issues.
No, yeah, no, yeah. But anyways, yeah. So like that game came out, and it was just like it was one of my favorite games. It's still one of my favorite games. But the story is what got me because it's kind of like it's scary because it's kind of like dealing what we're dealing with in real life right now. Of only it was North Korea in the game. So in the game, and I've talked about it before, but it was North Korea. They take over Japan, and then they unite with China, and they come and they invade the U.S. and ends up leading to World War III per se, as in World War III for just us versus them, because the other guys, even in the game, it tells you like Europe and all them are sitting this one out. They want nothing to do with what's going on. So in that game, they kind of leave the U.S. out to dry, out to hang, and the U.S. has got to figure it out. Well, ultimately they succumb and they get taken over, and then they leave it to pockets of revolutionaries, they call them, pockets of resistance to try to fight back. And in the game, it leaves you on a cliffhanger because you do ultimately you do conquer San Francisco, which is one of the major cities they wanted to get back, and it leaves you hanging because you guys did take it over, and then at the end of the game it says that Europe is coming in to help, and then they kind of left you there. And then we got the disgrace from I forgot who took over because I do not like that developer. I forgot who took over Homefront, but Homefront 2 came out and it was Homefront the Revolution and completely destroyed whatever the first game had done. At that point, THQ was gone. They had liquidated all their stuff, and I think the only thing that remained was THQ Nordic. And Homefront was one of those things that ended up getting liquidated and sold off to another developer. And then the developer that has it now has done absolutely nothing with it, and the Revolution is straight garbage. So sad to see that THQ, the real THQ, is gone. THQ Nordic still pumping out some pretty cool stuff. I know that there's a Nickelodeon Smash Bros. Style game coming out pretty soon. That looks kind of interesting. But yeah, THQ was my number three. Shout out to
Yeah, I
the original
completely forgot.
THQ.
Yeah, I completely forgot about them.
Yeah, a lot of people do just because now the only thing left is THQ Nordic, and then you know, was it 2K or who was it? Who owns 2K? Is that EA?
Yeah, it's EA.
Yeah, so or I think it is, but yeah, so whoever has the WWE license now, yeah, so everyone forgets about THQ. Although THQ Nordic did, and Ukes and all them did have a hand in the new AEW game, which is actually not too bad. I played it for a little bit. It's kind of no mercy. It's kind of wonky. They need to do a couple of more things to fix it, but the game itself actually is pretty good. It's nice to have people like John Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, over there, and then you got CM Punk, the GOAT, and then a couple of other old school guys over there. So that's pretty cool to see. So playing that kind of reminded me of the good old THQ days.
Yeah. Um. So moving on from that, number two for me is Ubisoft, and most people when they hear that usually probably think something along the lines of Rainbow Six or any type of Tom Clancy game. But for me, it's Assassin's Creed, the franchise of Assassin's Creed. Um, Going into this a little bit as well. Assassin's Creed was one of the first really RPG style games uh, that I played, and I started with Assassin's Creed 2.
Hold on. Um, for the listeners, his microphone did skip out for a second. This is Ubisoft. No, you're good. You're good now. You're good now. It did skip out for a second. But yeah, he's talking about Ubisoft, obviously. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, like I was saying, Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed is always going to be up there on any list I do for in terms of video games.
Shout out to
Uh,
three.
yeah, 3. I didn't really like the mechanics at 3 at first, but it's grown on me now. The newer mechanics, I've
For
gotten
me,
used to playing them.
for me, the reason why I say shout out to three is the story. I thought for me, Assassin's Creed 3 story was the best because I did love the Native American aspect of it, and then the Revolutionary War part of it. But anyway, sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I didn't rage with that one mission where I had to run through where you had to run through the trees and try to get back to your Native American tribe before the people came and destroyed the camp.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember
That I failed that mission so many times. I nearly broke a controller because of
that.
it. So I that's why I stopped playing it, and now I kind of regret it because now it's like the newer ones that have come out in recent years have been actually pretty good with their mechanics, and now I'm like
Right.
I've missed a whole chunk of it because of
Hold
that.
on, your mic's out again.
I don't know why it's doing that.
It might be a bad. That chord you switched might be bad.
Let me try. Go ahead and say your number two while you try to get this
Oh
fixed.
no, you're good. It's working again. If you wanna keep going.
Well, that was it, really.
Oh okay. Yeah. So Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft's definitely got their hits. I mean, obviously, for me, their number one is the Division. Like that game is just. I can't wait. There's gonna be a three, obviously. So I can't wait for that. But yeah, the Assassin's Creed franchise, you can't go wrong with it. There's well, I'd say the first three. I really don't like anything after the first three. The new one that's coming out though, Mirage, looks like finally a backtrack to one, two, and three, which is perfect because those are obviously the best ways. I don't like the long RPG versions of them, so yeah, Ubisoft's definitely a good pick. Let's see, my number two. Oh yeah, obviously for me. My number two is now I went back and forth with this one because originally it was going to be Insomniac, but then I was like, Insomniac really like you know I have a feeling it's on your list, but my number two is Square Enix. I've been with Square Enix since the very beginning of my gaming life. They got Square Enix was the reason why I got into JRPGs and RPGs in general. My first RPG being Chrono Trigger, and I've mentioned it before, is it was just too tough for me, so I couldn't finish it. And then jumping over to uh, jumping over to Final Fantasy VII, which revolutionized everything for me, and like I've mentioned before, is the reason why I am a gamer today. It was that, and it was Square Enix. They had a hand in that. But Square Enix has just had banger after banger after banger, and some misses. Like they got this new game coming out, Foam Stars. That's a ripoff of Splatoon. I want nothing to do with that. And then they've had some misses too. Trying to think another bad one. For me, the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, those games weren't very good. Type Zero was awful. And then the most notorious one, Final Fantasy 13. That game can go dunk itself off a cliff somewhere. Um, but for me, yeah, it's Square. For me, number two is easy. It's Square Enix. I mean, especially with Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth and whatever the third one ends up being, which Final Fantasy VII is the franchise to me. It's my number one franchise ever. Um, but yeah, for me, it's just Square Enix, just because those guys and their RPGs and the things that they do are just really really speak to me, and they fill my heart with joy. And there was that game that they released. What was it called? Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name. I got so much going on in my head right now. Um, Forspoken. Quit shitting on Forspoken, guys. That game's actually pretty good. Give it a shot. I mean, it's not gonna light the world on fire, but it wasn't a bad game. And I'm gonna say something that's super controversial. I like Forspoken way more than I like Horizon, because I think Aloy is more annoying than the girl in Forspoken, and I think the girl in Forspoken's a better character than Aloy. So I know I'm gonna get shit for it. Come at me, guys. I completely understand it, but Horizon sucks. Um, but yeah, it's Square Enix for me. My number two easily.
Yeah, and what I have to say, uh, Insomniac would have been on this list. However, it
Ah,
is not.
oh, they didn't make it for you either,
No, not really.
huh?
Um,
And
So
see,
my number
that's
one,
and before you go on, that's what really sets us apart because from other guys because obviously I guarantee it right now. I can pretty much say everybody's top five: Insomniac, Capcom, Nintendo, Square Enix, and Insomniac's going to be on there. Clearly, obviously, well deserved. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, Insomniac's more of an honorable mention for me. My number one is actually Treyarch,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's simply due to the Call of Duty series, with their Black Ops.
Right.
I've mentioned this before already, but yeah, Black Ops 2 holds a special place in my heart. It's the first Call of Duty multiplayer online I played, as well as the first time ever playing a zombies mode, and I'll just never really forget it.
Right.
It was honestly such a very well tuned game, and Treyarch always knows how to knock it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. That Black Ops version that was on the Wii U too was incredible. Like I remember dropping so many people on the Wii U version of Black. Granted, it was full of 12-year-olds, but still, the work got done.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, Treyarch. Yeah, Treyarch is definitely one of definitely deserves a spot. Those guys, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, and what's the other one? Sledgehammer. Uh,
Infinity War.
oh, Infinity Ward. Yeah. Clearly, those three know what they're doing. I mean, Call of Duty's always consistently been good. Some more than others, but speaking of Call of Duty, actually, I forgot to mention this at the top, and I knew it would come back to me, and it did now. So it's been confirmed now that they're going around, and the Call of Duty 2023 is in fact Modern Warfare 3. It's been confirmed. They're going around pressing it right now. They're having little little demos for the news people and all that, and yeah, so it's definitely. I think there's a big reveal planned coming up soon. But yeah, it's definitely Modern Warfare 3. They're gonna finish the trilogy, and that's gonna be Call of Duty this year. So that's super exciting. So uh,
I hope they don't end it on a trilogy again. I hope they can do a continuance of like how, hopefully Modern Warfare 3 is not the end of the new Modern Warfare franchise.
I don't know. I mean, they could they could end it, or they could simply just continue in making it Call of Duty World War 3, because ultimately that's where three and or Modern Warfare ends up, anyways. Um, but yeah. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, but Treyarch definitely that's one I wouldn't have expected. Um, good. That's a good call right there. Um, so moving on to my last one, and this one's a no brainer. Originally I had it wasn't gonna be number one. Excuse me. It wasn't gonna be number one, but it was gonna be my number five. Um, Originally I had Ready at Dawn on there, and Ready at Dawn was because of the Order 1886. Look, you guys gotta stop shitting on the Order 1886. So many people say bad things about that game, but they don't take the time to realize how great that game actually was. That game showed the the potential that the PS4 had at the time. That game was a clear jump from PS3 to PS4. Like that showed you how dominant the PS4 was going to be, and people called it a tech demo. And to me, that game had a good story. It had great gameplay mechanics. Galahad and his team were a great team of rogues. Um, the whole story was just perfect. Then they left it off on the cliffhanger, and now Ready at Dawn is part of Meta. So I do believe Sony owns the rights to the Order. So Sony, if you're listening to this again, please, if you're listening to this, I hope you're listening. Do the sequel because we need an Order 1886 sequel. Needs to get done. But anyways, moving on. My number one is it's an obvious one. It's Naughty Dog. Um, Naughty Dog just to me, and I've heard it said on other podcasts. Again, shout out to the Sacred Symbols guys. Um, Naughty Dog is the diamond at PlayStation. It's the number one studio. It has to be. Yeah, Insomniac definitely does the work with Spider-Man and all those other games they got coming out. They got the Wolverine and all kinds of stuff. But for me, it's Naughty Dog. I mean, you go back all the way back in the day. You got Crash Bandicoot, RIP over at Microsoft. You got Jack and Daxter, who's long been forgotten that needs to be revived. You got um, clearly the best game in the franchise over there, or the best franchise they got over there in The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. And there's obviously number 3 coming out. Um, but it's Naughty Dog. The stories that they tell, the games that they put out, the detail and the love that they put into their games. There's just it's clear that anybody who says otherwise is just insane because Naughty Dog is the diamond over there. They're the jewel of PlayStation, and they continue to this day to bring the heat over there. And there's no doubt whether you like The Last of Us Part 2 or not. There's no doubt that The Last of Us Part 3 is going to be a banger. So yeah, so number one for me is Naughty Dog, and I can't say that there's a developer that I love more. But shout out to Insomniac and all them because they do, like I said, they do put out diamonds, but nobody puts them out as hard as Insomniac. I mean, Naughty Dog. Sorry about that. All right, and here we go. So this is the last one for Z. Z, give him your number one.
Already did.
Oh, did we? Oh, okay. I lost order. My bad. All right, guys. So that was our top 5 developers. I lost track there. So yeah. So shout out to the top 5 that we both said, and may they continue. Except for THQ because they're gone, but may they continue to bring us the stuff that we love for more and more years to come. All right. So we're gonna move into the last segment of the podcast here, and the last segment is pitch a game. So, developers and people, if you're listening, we have this on audio record. If you steal our ideas, we will come for you, or at least include us. So, I had two games that I wanted to pitch, but I ultimately decided on one because that was the rules. Um, and I had heard it being talked about on another podcast, and it was funny because I'm level with those guys, and I can't praise them enough. It's the Sacred Symbol crew. They were talking about exactly what I had in mind originally, but I'm gonna let them have it, and I'm gonna go on with what I want. So, my pitch for a game is clear and simple. Well, for me it is. I've had this guy in my brain since I was age 5. He's always been a hero for me. He's actually my name for on my Discord, and I use the name often a lot. It's in my email, but it's a game revolving around one character and his 2 allies. It would end up. I see it as an action RPG on the line of, I would say, Final Fantasy 16, with more Star Ocean too. But I have it to where it's centered around this one character. He is the whole center of the story. So him and his family. So his dad he was like the scientist of the time. Like this guy figured out how to do clean energy, and he had the world going and prosperous to a level that was never before seen. The world is at peace. All the nations are united, and his dad is part of that. They work for obviously a $1 trillion company, and the leader of this company, his name is Lucius Rydell. He ends up getting greedy because they're now developing something for a just-in-case scenario that would basically black out the globe. It shuts everything off, but it puts a kinetic field around the Earth, and it basically makes it so that there's no more electricity. It shuts it off. The only electricity that would basically be able to function is the electricity in your body. ends up being where the dad and the president of the company end up going to battle with each other. Not literal, well, not physically because they're not. Well, one of them's a fighter, but the other one's not. And the dad loses, and he ends up um, trying to basically not launch this weapon, and ultimately the president wins and launches this weapon, and it destroys everything, like just flat out Terminator style. Shuts everything off. Basically, the world goes dark, and he's basically takes over by saying that they can fix it, and that if they just follow him, and ultimately he becomes president of the world. Um, Ends up killing the main character's father, and then sets him on a basically a revenge tour. He is 10 at the time when this happens, and he goes on a 9-year revenge tour, training himself. But the thing that I hadn't mentioned is when they launched this, certain people had have a reaction to the stuff in the air, and they end up becoming what they call, and I know they've said it before, but they end up becoming what they call enhanced humans. So they develop super strength and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, but they're able to elevate powers. They're basically Dragon Ball style. We'll say that without the flare. They're able to elevate their strength, and speed and all that. And so the journey goes on and on and on and on until eventually the two clash, and that there ends the story. But I've had this game, and it's in my head. It's actually better than I'm trying to describe it. But yeah, so basically, it's kind of like a mix of a bunch of different JRPGs all rolled into one. So yeah, that would be my game pitch. So Square Enix, I'm looking at you. Make this game for me.
So a game pitch that I had was actually it's actually a combination of two games that are already here, and I think that technically, if these two companies were to merge together and combine their talents, it would actually take off. And you know, I'm thinking of a game that combines both Assassin's Creed with Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, that'd be something kind of neat. Go ahead and explain.
So how it would work is the two teams. You'd have two separate teams. You have the hero team and the enemy team, like in Call of Duty. The hero team obviously being the assassins, the enemies being Abstergo or the Templars, and you'd have a multiplayer. You'd have an online mode where you could play against people, against bots if you want to, against your own friends. Uh, I'm thinking there would also be a zombies mode where the premise of the zombies mode would be uh, like Black Ops style zombies with the Nazi zombies, except instead of them being Nazis, it's the Templars using a piece of Eden or one of the apples to pretty much control the human population, and you have four lone assassin survivors that are trying to pretty much take back that piece of Eden and reset the world. And how a story mode would go, honestly, I haven't put much thought into it, but if I had to choose something, it would probably just follow a basic storyline of Assassin's Creed.
Mm.
Just doing a bunch of missions, progressing the story of the character you're playing. Pretty normal stuff. But it would be more set in a modern era, like how Call of Duty's been going towards, where now you have automatic firearms. It's getting more and more technical. If I had to put a timeline on it, I'd probably put it around the same year as Black Ops 2, 2025, just so that way you have some of that cooler gear from Black Ops 2, like the little drones that you program off your wrist. The score streaks would pretty much be normal Call of Duty score streaks. They just have more assassin type names or Templar type names.
So you're looking
Um,
at, so you're thinking of something like a modern day. So basically,
a
like
modern day Assassin's Creed,
yeah,
but
so like
not the Call of Duty style.
Like Assassin's Creed Modern Warfare ish.
Yeah,
So I would think that you could do that if it was in if it was let's see. Actually, that could actually work as like a battle royale, or you
yeah,
could do a
and yeah, you
TDM.
could even have a battle royale with it.
Yeah, you could do a TDM and just kind of set it in the time because I do believe they were in the future time when what was his name? The original character, the original Desmond. Yeah, you could set it in that time because I believe there was drones and stuff and I wish that was the
That
one
was
thing
around
Assassin's Creed was.
2012 for that timeline.
Yeah, the thing that was missing. Oh, that's right, it was. Oh, that's right, because they had the Mayan calendar thing. The thing that bummed me out about Assassin's Creed is we never got Desmond's assassin ability in the real world at that time. I was like, I always thought, oh man, what would it look like if Desmond was out there doing this stuff?
Yeah, and speaking of Desmond, uh, a pre-order would include him as a playable character
Yeah.
in the multiplayer, uh, and the zombies as well to use. Like I would have it set up kind of like how like the newer Call of Duties are, especially like something like Cold War, where the characters that you can play as in multiplayer are the same as in the zombies mode. It's just only set to 4 players. Obviously, you can only have 4 people in zombies, and
You can choose whatever character.
Hang on, your mic's died. Your mic died again.
yeah, I'm gonna fix that after this.
Hang on.
But yeah,
Hang on, guys. More technical difficulties. This has been a bad one for us. We had trouble at the beginning of the podcast getting it going too.
Is it working again?
I can hear you now. Say something.
Something.
Okay, there we go. Anyways, backtrack about 30 seconds.
Yeah, so, one of the things I would offer up for the game that I would have a game company offer up would be Desmond as a playable character if you pre-order.
Your mic's dead again. I don't know what's going on. Are your settings? Is it push to talk?
No, I have it set to voice
Yeah,
activity.
your mic died out. Sorry, guys.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Played with the wire a bit.
Yeah, I think you need a new cable in that thing. 'Cause it might be, or the PC might have shorted it out.
Let me see this since we got it working again. Let me try switching the wire. Just mute real quick.
All right. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. He's gonna mute and check his wire real quick. We've been having technical difficulties, like I said. It was hard to get in the podcast going because we were having audio issues. But yeah, no, I could see his.
Hello?
Yeah, good to go. I could see an Assassin's Creed multiplayer or battle royale thing kind of working. So that's a pretty cool pitch. But I'll let him finish as soon as he gets his audio working again.
Alright. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I apologize for those technical difficulties. It might be the wire, it could be that I probably just need to get myself a new mic. I've been looking at one on Amazon and I just got to either wait for a sponsorship to come in and to pay for it or somehow convince my mom to buy a $55, maybe $60 mic.
And we are working on a sponsorship. We got someone working with us right now. We haven't really finalized anything yet, so as soon as we do, obviously it'll be add on here. So we're working on that, guys. Things are actually starting to pick up for us pretty well here. So, anyways, back to it. You were saying about your game.
Yeah, an open world Warzone type of deal with assassins and Templars. It would make a very interesting story because, like, right now, with the way the Call of Duty franchise is working with their stories, it's more heavily based on the story mode, continuing it into Warzone. but being able to play as like the enemy characters and the allied characters on the same team kind of draws more focus away from the game, like the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
And how mine would work is that um, in the battle royale portion of it, how it would work would be your teams are automatically decided when you load in.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either only pick from the assassins or you can pick from the Templars. And once you're on that team and it's decided, it's still gonna be every man for himself because of a game like Assassin's Creed Rogue, where an assassin jumps ship to the Templars.
Oh yeah.
That still would be part of the story. You could play as the assassins. You might be a part of the assassins only characters, but you can still turn on them and kill other players. It's still gonna be a battle royale at heart. It's just your characters will be locked down to certain ones during like major story events.
Right. Well, you heard it first, Ubisoft. You heard it. This man loves Assassin's Creed more than anybody I know. Give him a job. Get him in there because you guys need a multiplayer game. We know you're working on one, so there's an idea for you. But yeah, those are our game pitches. I know that was just something that we wanted to do. So yeah, we're working on new content all the time. I do eventually. Sorry, guys. I do eventually want to get 2 shows going on here. I want to do one for the beginning of the week and one at the end of the week. I want to try to work out a schedule for both of us to do that. So the more content we pump out, the more chance we have to expand and grow. I'm going to work with Z to get a Patreon going because I think that'd be the next best step for us to get some love from the people. And if you're listening to this and you make it to the end, please share. Please let people know. I'm doing my best to get us out there. I started doing shorts. I unloaded our Notorious now, and I've gotten some flack for this, but the Notorious Superman portion of one of our podcasts, it didn't go over too well. A lot of you Superman fans got really butthurt about that. And I'm just going to reiterate here again. Superman sucks. He's white bread. He's vanilla ice cream. He is the worst superhero ever known. Okay, granted he did start superheroes, but he's the worst. And I'll say it again because I know it pisses you guys off the most. Goku would flatten Superman. He wouldn't even have to go Super Saiyan. He wouldn't have to go God mode. He'd flatten him. Kryptonite up his butt. Superman sucks. But
Now, here's what I will say about that before we end this. I actually do think, while I am also a bigger fan of Goku, I would think that because of the Yellow Sun, it would be a harder put down for Superman if they were to fight. However, Goku would probably only need to go up to, if I had to put it in perspective, I'd say if they were to unleash all their powers, you got Superman Prime being the strongest version, because he's technically godly at that point.
right.
I would say all Goku would really need though is base God in order to beat Superman.
Yeah.
On any.
That's what I say too.
Yeah, like he wouldn't need to go further. He wouldn't need Super Saiyan Blue or Ultra Instinct. I do not agree with how, and I won't name their channel, but if you know, you know. I do not agree with how these people took Superman versus Goku on
twice.
time. I do not agree because their information was just all over the place. In the later years after that fumble, they have managed to get their accuracy, like taking one version of the character and sticking with that one. Whereas with Superman, they went and picked bullshit.
I'll be the bad guy here, and I'll say who it was. Death battle, your Superman versus Goku battles are bullshit, and Goku would have won. Get your shit together. You got the robot armed guy and the fat fucking trailer park guy who don't know what they're talking about. And yeah, I'm talking to you. Your Goku versus Superman battle is bullshit.
It
Anyways.
really was. Like the
Anyways.
fact that
Well, now that we're
they
on this rant,
considered.
I'm gonna continue this rant. So, I will say Homelander would kick Superman's ass. So there, suck it, Superman fans. But anyways,
Honestly, I think even Omni-Man would have too much trouble.
I'm
And
joking.
Omni-Man the direct ripoff.
I'm joking. Homelander sucks. He's great in the show, but that guy is just deplorable. But I do think Omni-Man would give Superman a fight for his money because basically they are one and the same. Only I don't think Omni-Man has a weakness that's kryptonite. And I don't know because I've never read the Invincible comic book, so I don't know. I'm just basically getting my information off the show. But yeah, Omni-Man's cool. Um, anyways, guys. So yeah, we're working on some major stuff right here. I want to get 2 shows going. And when I do the gameplays every night. I want to get Z involved in the gameplays. We're gonna do gameplays, streams together eventually. So we're working as hard as we can. We're trying to make this as entertaining as we can. Some of you are gonna like us, some of you aren't. Even if you don't like us, just go leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It doesn't hurt our feelings. Try to leave the comments civil because we don't want any negativity here. There's enough of that going around, and we don't want it to spread here. Also, we are actually getting people commenting on the stuff now. So, like I said, shout out to Mike Tendo because he's now he's now entered to win the PS2, and then there was another commenter who's now entered to do the PS2. So next Friday when we do the podcast, if we can get some more commenters, it's basically going to come down to Mike Tendo and the other commenter. So that PS2 is definitely going next Friday. So I'll send out a short announcing more so that you guys can leave comments on there. But we're going to wrap it up here. I thought this was way better than last week's podcast. Again, I apologize for last week's. It was a mess. I wasn't feeling good. Z was kind of still recovering. So anyways, you guys know where to find us. If you want to sponsor the show, hit us up because we would appreciate it. So again, I am the Fatman 12 here at the Fatman Gaming. This is my co-host, Zio Keys. Philip Guerra. So you guys might now know where to find us. You can find us here. You can find us at the socials. Him, he's Zio_Philip on everything. I am Trey Cohen on everything. I am Lewis003 on Xbox. So if you guys want to go find us, go find us. If you want to find us here, find us here. Also, go listen to us on Spotify and give us a rating, and we would appreciate it. Things are moving along. We're appreciating our 59 subs that we got now, and I can't wait to get on to the level of where people like Mike Tendo and a lot of the other people that I watch on here are. So, anyways, guys, that's us for now. We'll catch you guys next Friday, or actually these go live on Saturday, so we'll catch you guys next Saturday. And yeah, peace out. Say bye to the people, Z.
Yeah.